Hello, welcome to Retro Toy Princess. I am Allison Troy, and today we are going to be coloring Sectaurs with my guest, Brick Something. Good morning, Brick.
Sectaurs! Good morning, Allison. Good morning, chat. Hello, hello, hello.
So really quick, let's jump in. The chat is hopping, it looks like, for Sunday morning. Well, on the West Coast. Everyone else is probably on the East Coast for schlubs. Duchess stopped in to say she can't wait.
Hey,
Congratulations again on your 1,000, Duchess. It's epic. You deserve every one of them. And here's to the next 10,000. Derek Hoover. Good morning, Derek. It's me. I'm in two places at once. Magic, science, technology, industry. Good morning, Thanos. Good to see you, sir. Wait. Because I've been trying not to say it, but I always say it like Adam says it. Good morning, Toy Mama, instead of, yeah, anyway. Good to see you as well. Speaking of Adam, Radical Toys is here.
Hey, Adam.
So Adam and Toy Mama are here. There we go. Anyway, it's cute how he says it. I like it. All right. So anyway.
I realized I forgot one of my most important accessories, but I'll wait to jump off and we can kind of talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, not a problem. So we're gonna be coloring Sectaurs today. And
Sectaurs.
I was a little bit less prepared than I should have been, but you know how that goes. All right, so I will add my to the stage. This is not a Sectaur. This is a Banshee by my favorite adult coloring artist, Elazor. Work in progress. Should be done soon.
That's awesome.
But there's
warming up. That's the secret. She warms up for hours.
I have to. If I don't color at least once a day for an hour or two, or spread throughout the day, my hand gets really sort of clinchy, and I don't like that. And then it takes a while for it to refresh.
So what you're telling me is that this is a form of athletics.
It's a pretty good form of exercise. My grip has gotten really good. Matt's asleep, so he can't confirm nor deny, but he would if he were here. I mean, like I said, he's asleep. So you know. But let me get the clip.
Ooh, I refrained from that one. Yeah.
Yeah, right. No, that was. I was
gonna say something about sleeping and never mind. Bad.
Yeah, right. There's so many jokes that could have been made, and Kayla will be sad, but when she watches this on rewatch, she'll get to make them in her head. No, we've arrived. Toy Tube in the house. Nolan. Good morning, Nolan. And then everyone's saying hello to Nolan as they should. All right, I'm going to add your page to the stage. There we go.
Oh, it worked. Okay, great.
Yep. No, it looks pretty good.
A weird glare. Okay.
Yeah.
If you could see. Oh, here, peek behind the counter of how kludgy this is. That's what's going on around here.
Excellent.
Ooh, but it works.
You know, it's all that really matters half the time. And I misplaced my tape, so this guy might move around a bit. I do apologize to anyone. I will not flip it around, which is what I do when I'm not filming something, which is why I tape it down, because I will start flipping it, and that's not very photogenic. So
this feels like a extreme sports video.
Yeah, right. It's extreme coloring. Coming to you live from the Pacific Northwest. Sunday. They're all here.
Sunday.
Bigfoot. Roadkill.
Oh, Bigfoot. What a
Crunchmaster Supreme.
Different time.
You will shit your pants. Sunday. I still need to make.
I've got some room here.
Make a video with that. Yeah.
These pages are great. By the way, thank you for indulging my interest in Sectaurs.
I'm only sad that these for those of you watching wondering, These were free on retroreprints.com, which is where I buy a lot of my scans. He does not have the full Sectaur book scanned yet, which is why we had a limited option. These are from his free samples. There is a link. And if you buy through my link, anything from him, I get a discount, which is cool because that means I can get more books from him and color more.
I'm listening. So I'll be right back.
Definitely do that. No worries. Yep. So yeah, he is an archivist. So if it's not something I own, I usually can go there and find that a lot of my cool Barbie stuff is from him. So yeah, anyway, if you're watching, if you're at all interested in any of the things I color, a lot of them will have his logo in the bottom there. So totally recommend them.
This is where I feel like a tattoo artist.
Oh, you're gonna get the. Gotcha.
This is not what I was gonna get. Actually, I have the same glove that you have, or the same type. Yeah. And I was gonna wear it today, but then I realized smudginess and all that. Yeah.
Well, I started wearing it for the eczema because I was like, I want to film some videos, and then my hand did what it did. But then it kind of became a thing where I'm like, well, that's almost my thing now. And plus, with the kitten, he's in that stage where he loves, and then he bites, and he bites, and he bites. And then he stops biting and loves some more. So we're almost through it, but there are a lot of little cat bites. And I'm like, nobody needs to see that. So, all right. So we're coloring a Sectaur, and this is the part of the show where I say, hey, Rick, what are you coloring with?
So I'm using these, and actually this is the very first time I'm using them. A friend who also does coloring, they heard that I was doing this, and they're a bit of an artiste as well. And they hooked me up with these. Apparently there was, they're like, oh, there's a sale, and like, oh, cool. And I really, so thank you. You know who you are. You don't want to be named, but I appreciate you. And so I actually am still kind of getting used to I haven't wrapped my head exactly around what the difference is in the colors. Like this feels a little bit more like which is like a basic, like more of the primaries, and then which are tints and which are shades.
Yeah, the one tint, the first tint you had is sort of the basic set, which everyone's
this one.
Yep, that one's it's got a parrot. Yep, that means it's the newest set. The older set that was that primary had like a portrait because this one's a couple years old.
You know what's funny is I just I'm mixing up now. I don't know which tin top comes.
Oh, I can tell you which one is which.
Oh, okay.
It looks like you have the Under the Sea, where things are much better. Downwards wetter, and then you probably
take it from me. Sorry.
Okay,
so which would you say is this?
The one on top that has the two. It looks like you've got either which you see the one on the one on top. You've got a purple. Well, let's make sure this is this is the repurposed one because I buy that.
You use Prismacolors too? Oh, okay.
That's my jam.
Oh, good. Then you can guide me on.
Yeah. So so the one that you have on top looks like it's the botanical set. So really quick, this pencil right here, on the end, the sort of lavender-looking one. Do you have a lavender or do you have an orchid?
I don't have a lavender, so that's got to be this one.
Yeah. Is that lavender or orchid?
It is orchid. And
orchid. Okay, so you've got one of the newest sets. Orchid is a new color. It replaces the lavender, which this one has lavender, but I've got orchid in another set.
Okay.
Lavender I can no longer make because the pigment doesn't exist, so orchid is the replacement color.
So you're like, is this stuff that you knew prior to doing your channel, or from like other channels, or like the fact that a pigment no longer exists?
That I learned because I was trying to find lavender because it's one of my favorite colors, and I had ordered the botanical set, and it came with,
Mhm.
instead of orchid, they had stuck, instead of lavender, it had hot pink, which is
Ah,
useful for
got
Barbie
it.
and Princess of Power. But I was like, I need lavender. So I did what everyone does now: is I went on to Google, and I didn't find anything, and then I went to YouTube and just typed in Prismacolor lavender, and that was when it broke it down. So.
Mm.
But there are some new blues coming because they recently found a new blue pigment that didn't exist before. So we've got a new shade of blue for the entire world, not just Prismacolor. So yeah, like some of this I know now because like I do this and like try to buy the stuff. And I like Prismacolor. They're and I I probably say this every time I explain it, but Prismacolor are wax-based color pencils, and
Uh-huh.
there's always the person like all color pencils are wax and oil based. Prismacolor is a little bit more wax. The spendier, the more expensive the pencil is, the more oil it has.
Ah,
But
okay.
what most people who do adult coloring like best about Prismacolor is because of it's got a nice blend of the wax and the oil, so it blends really well and it's really creamy. It's really fun to use. And since a lot of people who do adult coloring are doing it for relaxation reasons, that
Mhm.
sort of sensation of using it, that creaminess, adds to
Mhm.
sort of the relaxation. I like it because I can get some really amazing blends. Really quick, let me.
Ooh, can you switch
I
us so that I just realized my hands are underneath your body.
Oh, yeah, I bet I could do that. That would be weird.
And
That would not
actually,
help.
I saw
There
Adam's
we
comment. Let me that triggered something. I'll be right back.
Let's see. Dargon was cool. Dan Cortez. I bet he's right now at a car wash trying to get someone to let him introduce a video or something. Good morning, Carol. And I hear it's Carol's birthday, so everyone let Carol know happy birthday, Carol. You're
Happy
amazing.
birthday. Happy
And we've got
birthday to
Black
you.
Phoenix in the audience. Good morning, Black Phoenix. You know, yeah, exactly. Same. I have so many that I haven't even put a dent in. But we're going to be fixing all of that. So, yeah.
This
Dark.
is the main dude.
Is that the
And this
vintage one
is
or is that a newer one?
no, these are all
Okay.
vintage. This is a broken version of the main dude.
Yeah. My brother had
I
those.
I went on a so these were actually really, really inexpensive. Dare I say cheap? Um, and I
Yep.
was buying these particularly. This is the
Oh, yeah.
Parafly that was meant to be like a backpack for this sort of night
Mhm.
version of Dargon.
Yeah.
So you can see in here, I think I've got plenty of those because I made a template and was experimenting with the idea of using printed transparencies to
Yeah.
make wings.
That would work.
And
Also, you could
yeah, this was
get,
like my prototype. I don't know if you can see. It's
yeah, I
double
can
wing.
see it.
It's been
Is it,
crushed,
yeah.
but I haven't printed on them. This is just packing tape actually.
Yeah. I've
I was
got
just playing with the idea.
I've got some holographic vinyl it's like the same vinyl that Kenner used to use for capes. But the
Ah, like this.
holographic kinds is yep. Yeah, it looks a lot like that.
Make
So
wings.
it's a lot closer to whatever that material is difficult to locate. I don't know if it's just that they don't make it anymore now that the 80s are over, or if it's just I don't know the right thing to search for because I was, like I want to for one of the vintage Princess of Power customs I want to do.
Mhm.
Um, I need um, that material because she's called Dragonfly, and
Mhm.
obviously Dragonfly, she's gonna have dragonfly like wings. So yeah, no, those
These
are really
Yeah, I did have these as a kid. I have them somewhere in a box in my parents' garage. I don't know what the status is of it, but I took really good care of them. And unless they've been thrown around, I mean, those wings are hard to pack in.
yeah.
for the big ones especially. So I don't know what they're like. I'm hoping to unearth them one of these summers when I have time off. But in the meantime, I just was curious one day and wanted to pop off some of these heads and put them on Mythic Legion's bodies.
Yeah.
But they're a little bit different. They're squishy,
Yeah.
and they have a different
Yeah, they
connection point. So
were. Yeah. I bet there's a. I bet Lee at Lee Customs Toys.
oh yeah,
I
there's definitely
bet
a
he
way.
could work some magic.
Yeah, I would just fill it in, and yeah, there would be a way, but I think that's one of those things I haven't gotten to. But it was kind of a neat thing to be reminded. Like, let me compare this real quick because I forgot sort of like what they felt like in hand and what size they were.
Yeah.
So, to take a Cosmic Legions figure and kind of put them side by side. I mean, these were effectively 6-inch figures. Yeah, no, they're 7-inch
Yeah.
figures actually.
Yeah, they
Back in the
were
day,
taller
they
than
work.
everything in the day.
So, I knew they were bigger. I just sort of forgot. And what I also forgot was that they had really limited articulation, right? In terms of this shoulders fixed. I'm sorry, elbows fixed.
Yeah.
Everything is on a ball joint, which is kind of cool, which was definitely different from Motu back in the day. And then the torso is one solid piece, so no waist twist.
Yeah, well, waist twist. I mean, other than Motu sort of standardized that, but before, like, that was not necessarily. I don't even remember. I think Migo had the Migo 8 inches. I think had. I have a couple of the repos. I would go check, but yeah, it's not that.
I'm reading the stamp right here. It says 7 Towns Limited 1984.
Nice.
Which must have been the holding company. That was who was it?
Yeah.
It wasn't Coleco. It was
it was made by Coleco.
Oh, was it Coleco? Okay.
Yeah, that was when they were mad with all their Cabbage Patch Kid money and their Coleco vision. So yeah,
okay.
we had the
jumped right in.
Obviously, we had almost all of the. Oh yeah,
you had the playset? Wow, sorry, I didn't realize. I thought there was like intro and okay.
Yeah, no,
colored.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we're on the same one though. Okay, good. Because you also sent this other one, which is fun because dude gets shot in the face.
But shot right in the face.
Yeah, let's start with this one because this is the only one I actually had white paper for. I printed on like you had mentioned one time about the textured paper. These are more like yellow and tinted. I was like, oh, that would be kind of fun. But
yellow and I mean, if you need to color something white, the yellow and tinted will probably work better. That is the disadvantage of the white, in my opinion, of the white paper, is that if you need white, it doesn't really show because the Prismacolor, especially Prismacolor, the white's really good. If you have an off-white or a tan paper, it works pretty good. The white's good for blending though. I also bought on my last Amazon purchase, I got some tan paper that I'm going to be playing with a little bit later. My printer hates it. It's too thick for my printer, but I also got carbon paper, like the old graphite kind. So I'm going to experiment after stream today. My project for the day is cleaning up pages from the Gremlins coloring book I got, so I can do my 31 days of Christmas, because I'm insane. 31 days of shorts for Christmas. But I'm gonna play around with that paper and the graphite and see, because there are a few pages of things I haven't colored yet, because they need white, and so I've played around with like sort of like this shade of blue and a lighter blue to like make white the illusion of white on some of especially Leia pages. But I actually kind of want to play with the beige paper, because some of the people who do coloring content on YouTube are really into the whole beige paper, and they swear by it because you can do white, and for shading it. So I'll see how it works. I didn't know. I didn't buy a lot of it. I got like a pack of, I think it was 25. It was like $4 or $5. And I'm like, I'll start there, try it out, see if I like it. For certain projects, it'll be fine. But for most stuff, the white paper works fine. It just needs, printer paper works, but it's just because it's flat, you can't layer the same way.
Yep.
And when I like for a lot of times when people mention like more so on Instagram where like a lot of the coloring tube people who follow me, they'll talk about like sort of the textures I get for fabric, and a lot of that is just how I color on the textured paper. So so there's it's a technique thing. It's the same as any art. You give two people a canvas and you're going to get a slightly different outcome depending on how hard you press.
Yep.
Just and how everything that's unique about your hand. It's like, yeah. So I don't know. It's cool. Like all that stuff is it's really fun for me because like I got away from art for a long time. And I tried to do a comic strip like in 2008 to 2010 that went nowhere.
Like, were you looking to print it or online or?
I was just making comics. I was sitting at my desk at the horrible call center I worked at.
Okay, got it.
And I created a couple characters, and I was just making little. One of them would get me canceled because she was this. I called her Scary Sad Witch Head, and she was a slutty witch. And she was not attractive, and she like did not, like when I say she did not dress for her body type, I mean like she didn't dress in the way people think. A bigger gal should dress, which a lot of it was me sort of making meta commentary on shit I would hear.
Right.
And
I respect it would have gotten me canceled. And then proceeds to tell us exactly why.
Yeah, well, but I mean, but the thing is because it's like, it was sarcastic and it was like,
of course,
it was parody, but it was not done in a way where like not everyone's smart enough to get that kind of parody.
In on the joke.
And once you have to explain it's a parody, like, in the days in our current society, there's just a lot of people don't understand subtext. They don't, and it's not. Once you have to explain a joke, or like what your purpose is, like the whole point at that point is lost. And I was like, I just don't want to go through that. But I might repurpose Scary Sad Witch Head because I liked her.
Very sad witch head. Is that what you said?
Scary Sad Witch Head.
Scary Sad Witch Head.
Yeah, like the first comic I drew of her was like. Tonight at the club, I'm gonna give you a spoon so you can dig into this cup of panty tapioca, or something like that, or so you can get into my pudding cup or whatever. So it was really, but it was funny.
I don't think you're ready for this jelly, like really.
Yeah, it was stuff like that. But because she was not attractive, all the dudes at my work would be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe she's saying that," and. My test run was I drew a really conventionally attractive, slutty-looking woman, like like it was Fergie. I drew Fergie.
Kids Incorporated.
It was during the Fergie era of time, and I had her say something, and they were like, "Oh my god, that's really hot." And then I took the exact same thing like 2 or 3 weeks later. And had Scary Sad Witch Head saying, and oh my god, that's disgusting. How could you have her say something like that? Why? And it cracked me up because it's like these dudes thought it was hot and sexy, and it was ridiculous. It was something about panty tapioca, like get a spoon and dive in. And they were cool, and it was like and it was a drawing. It's not even like it was a real picture. And they were fine with it when it was a hot woman saying it, but the second it was somebody they didn't consider a hot woman, it grossed them out, and it cracked me up. So I would sit at my desk and make up all these, put her in these ridiculous outfits, like with crotchless chaps and.
Well, here's a question.
Yeah.
I'm just curious because you're telling us this story about this thing that you created. I wonder how many of our beloved comic strips actually started at sad call centers as
Probably a lot.
sketches.
And now that you know the guy who made Dilbert is canceled and is awful, I should probably resurrect some. I probably resurrect my clown. I had a character called Mr. Clown, and he was a take on all the children's books, and it was basically like if you were a bad kid, he killed you. So
Oh, sweet.
I'll probably, and I have a bunch of things I had drawn for this. So I might, you know, like I might at some point. I don't really want to draw. Like I can't find the passion to draw anymore. So like I can't very well plunge back in because eventually it runs out.
I'm
You know,
instantly
like,
regretting. Totally. Sorry, I'm instantly regretting drawing on top of a Trader Joe's bag because it's not flat, but whatever, it's fine.
It'll give you some texture. Just use it to your advantage.
I just didn't want it because I use a piece of fabric as my bottom, as my sort of
under your
for the figures for the setup, and I just didn't want to take it out. And anyways.
It'll give
this
you
is
some
cool.
good texture
It's
for
been
your
a while.
hills and stuff. Yeah, see, like you see, you're getting like that creaminess of the pencil is really rad.
I'm feeling it.
And so once
Physically
you sort of
feeling it,
and when you're getting like nice shading without even adding colors yet. Just wait till you add a little bit of color to that and get a blend. So
yeah, I'm just using the one color right now to kind of lay my shadows, kind of to map out where light is gonna work. Light is coming here, basically.
Oh my goodness. I've missed so many people arriving while I was going on about Scary Side Witch Head.
Hello, everybody.
Which is good. Like, I'm not going to complain that we have people here listening to us and me. Roman the dog, good morning. Wolf Wolf. Rhea Black, good morning. Good to see you again.
Hey,
Oz is here. It's always a good show when Oz is here. Let's see, K-Roll. Yep. I was like, who is K-Roll? And then I'm like, oh, I bet that's Carol. Derek is saying hello to Oz. Hello again, Derek. Kenzo, good morning, Kenzo. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate that very much.
The newly shaved Kenzo.
Yeah, if you guys aren't following Kenzo, go find him on YouTube and Instagram. Some solid work happening over in Kenzo's corner of the world. Really quick, Derek Hoover, Allison, this reminds me of a Kristen Wiig character sketch on SNL. Ditzy Cute Vixen says the most awful things, but everyone and that was a little bit before she did that character, so like I don't even know if I could resurrect it. It would just look like I'm ripping off Kristen Wiig, which Bridesmaids was sort of my life for a while. So good morning, Kate. Good to see you. Oh, I was just that sad Kristen Wiig character, how she starts in that movie for a while. So I didn't have a
was there a John Hamm? Okay.
Yeah. His name was Carl. Not really. There's no actual Carl. Carl is the generic name for a Carl-like dude. But there were a couple dudes who had the same name. So they all just became Carl because there were like three dudes with one name. There were two dudes with another name, and then three with a different name. So it's wasn't until Matt. Hi, Matt. Good morning. Matt's among the living, and he's got.
How's her grip, Matt?
And
how's my what?
He's asking how my grip was because I was just saying earlier that my grip has improved because of the coloring, and you could attest.
She said it. I repeated it. Nice to meet you.
He's just repeating it. Awkward. Anyway, it's a little awkward, but whatever.
Oh, I love the awkward. It's great.
It's an awkward.
It's tear-inducing.
Thank you.
It's tear-inducing. Yep, that's true. That is my way of moving through the world. Anyway,
I will be making sounds over here as well, Allison. I don't know if you can see. If you want to take a quick look up.
No, it's fine.
No, this up here. Can you see? Are you seeing? You're
seeing it. Oh, nice.
So you'll be hearing that as well, because I have
Okay,
worn
cool.
down this poor
Oh
prism
no,
color.
yeah, they do tend to wear down a little. That's one of the complaints people have about them is how they get mushy real quick, but sometimes I like to use that. Like right now for this ground, that mush is like perfect. So again, that helps me with the texture, but not everyone does that. So it's like art. So anyway, John Ham. Yeah, there was no John Ham. Quite a few dudes who were like that though. Um,
All right,
there's one
let's
who
quit
lived in
while
my
I'm ahead
bedroom
on
for a
that.
while and was like, "You're so clingy." I'm like, "Literally, you have no home and you're at my home every night. How am I the clingy one?" But okay, sure, Carl. He did not appreciate when I would call him Carl either, because he knew at that point that he was part of the monologues. That's what he would call it. He's like, you're not actually listening. Sometimes you're just monologuing at me. I'm like, well, at least you're good for that. So, um, yeah, it's weird. I used to not be easy to be around, but we all have our ways.
I have a random pivot, and I was seeing it
Okay.
yesterday because it's been in my head whenever I hear your name. How much do you love or hate Elvis Costello's Allison? Or are you familiar with
I
it?
enjoy it quite a bit actually. My
Okay,
dad would
okay,
listen
okay.
to that song a lot. So, um, and my middle name, well, it's Allison hyphen Grace is my first name, and
Oh,
then
I thought you were going
Prudence
to tell
is
me.
my middle name, and
Prudence.
Prudence from the Beatles song.
Yep, dear Prudence.
So I mean, Allison would have happened way before Elvis Costello, but it was not one. There's some people who have a name that's like famous, and like
Hmm.
it's not like anyone at my high school knew
That
that song.
song. Sure.
So, and I was your typical angsty teen. I was not going by Allison in high school.
Ooh,
So,
was there a pirate name? What did you have? What did you have? Can you tell us? No.
I just had a different name.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah, right. We live in
But
the
you have
South.
two
We have
first names, eh? I have two first names as
two
well.
first names. Yeah,
My
yeah. It
actual
was
first name.
very not Caucasian of my parents, but hey, that's how it works
My
sometimes.
actual name is Sergio Luis, named after both of my grandfathers. So two first names, and then
That's really
multiple
cool.
last names at this point. Because
Did you
in
oh,
Mhm.
I was just gonna ask, did you like when you got hitched, did you combine last
Yes.
names? That's really cool.
Yeah,
I
so
like
we're
that.
like adding multiple. So like normal, or I guess traditionally, after colonization in the Philippines, they would take the mother's family's name, and that would become
Okay.
one's middle name, right? That make like your mother's maiden name would become the middle name.
Yeah.
So, and then you'd have the father's last name, and so I actually still have all those, but my last name is the hyphenate of my dad's family and my partner, my spouse's family, my wife's
Nice.
family. The word wife, so weird. But anyways,
It's
yes.
yeah. It's just
It's weird for me to
so
say. So people wonder,
so
like,
stupid. I will say the first time you use it, I'm like, yeah, it's a choice, but it's also you live in the Bay Area, and it's probably more of a choice to use wife in the Bay Area. So,
oh, the first time I used which one?
the
Spouse
first
or
time you said
partner or
partner,
something?
yeah, you
Yeah,
said
yeah, yeah.
partner. That's like,
That's
and
always
also,
intentional. It makes people wonder.
yeah,
I like
yeah,
people guessing.
and well, and also like sometimes partner means that you're not legally married, but you're like
Sure.
cohabitating.
Right, right,
So
right, right.
like,
That's my business partner, you know.
yeah, right. Yeah, that's just one of those
Anyways,
curious things that
purple, fun little
our
purples.
colonized minds conjure.
Yo. What
But
gold do we have? One of my favorite colors. Has become one of my
yeah,
favorite colors. Like a yellowish gold. Because these on the toys, these little antennae were
antennae. Yeah.
antennae were gold.
Yeah, they were like a gold. Was it for? Let me. Oh, they were gold. Okay.
Yeah, they were like
Yeah, that's
metallic,
right.
shimmery plastic goodness.
Yeah, yeah, they weren't like yellow gold, but like gold.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk
Um,
Sectaurs for a second. This is one of those
yeah,
like those toy properties and IP that I think just bad timing in the sense of, we were all deeply invested in some other things, particularly Masters of the Universe, G.I. Joe, Transformers, I feel like were the
yeah,
big ones at the time, that it kind of just got lost in the mix. But the idea of bugs, and this weird like fantasy world, I think felt like a no-brainer, but
yeah.
also they weren't the cheapest toys, so
Well,
for the time.
there, in my humble opinion, because again, we had my brother had a bunch of them, and
Hmm.
he got the Hive for Christmas, but it was the
Oh,
same year
so
I
cool.
got Crystal Castle for Christmas. So I
Mm.
did take the Hive because the Hive became Skydancer Mountain, and then I would just. And it fell over a few times because that platform was not secure, and it's just mostly card. It was mostly cardboard inside that plastic shell, but it worked. Um, but yeah, and that was a giant play set. It was a very ambitious line. That definitely they deserve to sort of Coleco and the people who developed it definitely went sort of above and beyond to try to create this
Oh
really
yeah.
cool thing. I
Hmm.
think what hurt them was the price point for one, and two, it
Hmm.
was just the scale. Like there are a lot of lines I think, like Silverhawks for instance, I think would have gone a lot bigger if they had been in scale with like another, like if they had been in perfect scale with even well, they were Kenners, so like I think
Smaller.
Superpowers was still active because
Yes.
Silverhawks was like 84, 85. If they had been
Hmm.
in perfect scale, and that's right, because my brother had Quicksilver, was it the silver guy? And I would
Yep.
use him to be Steve Trevor from Wonder Woman, but he was
Oh,
slightly out of
nice.
scale. So so what Kenner for Silverhawks and for Sectaurs is both of the companies there should have made them in scale either with Motu or with superpowers,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it would have been really easy for kids to blend them in. Like like they sort of cross over a little bit, but they were just so tall that I couldn't really use them. Sectars were useless with superpowers, and with Princess of Power and Motu, like I could use them, but they were so out of scale that it felt weird to use them as anything other than, look, the alien invaders have shown up on Etheria and they've got big bugs, and oh my god, Shira just threw him off the cliff and took his bug, and now she's riding the bug, and then my brother would get mad because I was basically me trying to appropriate his toys.
Sure.
But I think that's ultimate, and I think even now what's curious to me about both of the times the two different companies have tried to bring back Sect. I'm definitely going to get Stellara. If she had been in Wave 1, I probably would have had more Sectari toys, because that's how it works. Like, oh, they've got a girl. There's a
Right.
girl in that toy line. I'm in. Um, but I really think if either of the companies who are trying to bring them back had them in scale with, especially right now with Origins, like any company trying to resurrect an 80s property, if it's not in scale with Marvel Legends or Black Series, it should be in scale with Motu. Like it's just how I sort of look at it, because that's the only
Hmm.
way. Because even as adult collectors, we like the scale to be I use Baroness and Superpowers as a Wonder Woman villain, but I specifically had to craft a backstory where like because my whole play pattern was one day I figured Kenner would give us Ray Palmer the Atom. So my play pattern for a lot of superpowers was that he was lost, he had shrank down
He was in the
and been
quantum verse.
lost. And the Baroness was Wonder Woman's villain, Baroness Paula Van Gunter,
Hmm.
um, who was
Cute.
Nazi agent in the 40s, who did things like trying to poison America's milk, and Wonder Woman would stop her. And she was not pretty. And then what happened was when she was standing trial, when Wonder Woman finally caught her, one of her former victims threw acid in her face. So the Amazons made her pretty. And once they made her pretty, she was good. She became an Amazon. And then after that, she was the Amazon scientist. So anyway, like, think about that for a second. But so that was who I used Baroness as. She just accidentally shrunk herself, and she was trying to help. Sometimes she would fight with the good guys because she was trying to find the atom so she could be normal size again. And if he had come out, it would have just been that she would never be able to go back to her normal size, because it's not like we would have actually gotten Baroness and superpowers. But yeah, so that was, but that was one of the few times where, like, scale, I was actually able to make up, to integrate that difference of a scale, like 3 3/4, with like superpowers like 4. So, but superpowers couldn't really mix with He-Man, and so yeah, I think a lot of that really, I think a lot of these toy lines that many of us have affection for that didn't go very far would have fared a lot better. You know, even Golden Girl, which, you know, like, I like, they're not really perfectly, they're a little bit off from Princess of Power. So like, even, and He-Man, like, so even that sort of limited back in the day. And I don't know, I don't understand why there was that disparity sometimes. Like, this whole, like, it was almost like everyone was like, well, if we make it this, the kids can't intermingle it, and then we'll be the new big thing. But I don't think that really, you know, like, there wasn't a lot of lightning in the bottle in the 80s outside of after Motu until you get to Turtles. That was sort of the next big thing. And like superheroes, yeah, like superpower, like the Marvel Secret Wars, that didn't go big at all. Like 2 waves, and like, but those were also out of, like, those also did not fit in with any of my other toys.
Nope.
That Doom Tower, though, made a perfect Imperial outpost, though. I'll say that.
That door on that Doom Tower was echo. That door was fantastic. That had like a little trap thing, or it looked like kind of a cage, but it just like looked like a cool door too.
Yeah, I love that thing so much. I actually looked at those online during pandemic when I was writing my epic Star Wars Adventure Continues fan fiction stuff, which I still need to get back to. Do my whole custom expanded universe thing with them. But yeah, so like, I don't know, like, that, you know, again, I appropriated the Hive playset to be Skydancer Mountain, but it just always seemed weird to me that
to be what mountain?
That's what the mountain Crystal Castle is on.
Oh, from it's Etheria. Yeah. Gotcha.
And that, to me, like, that was fine. That was sort of out of scale because, you know, like, Crystal Castle was, like, Castle Grayskull was ancient and had been around for years, and there were many mysteries in the caverns beneath it. So, like, it was really easy, you know, and that's why sometimes the Sectaurs would show up at the end, because Catcher had gotten too far into Crystal Castle and discovered some secret, and, like, they would come and stop her. So, like, you know, there were ways, like, to work around it, but it was just, I shouldn't have had to work around it, Coleco. You should have made it all in scale and sold more toys.
Yeah, I've often wondered about that. I feel like today we were just kind of talking about this while you all were in the clubhouse on Oz's channel, and then I was sort of like finishing up, getting ready, and was chatting about like the question of like what Spiro was going to announce came up, and there was this notion of like trying to plan out what it might be based on what existing tooling was, and my sense is that if you're a person who's lending out your license, your IP to make toys, just from sort of like watching the landscape, it seemed like generally they don't want you to be compatible with other toys.
Yeah, and I've noticed that, right?
I didn't know if that was like a thing where like I to a certain degree I kind of get maybe the notion that, well, hey, like you got this license to make our thing. We don't necessarily want to help you sell your own or other people's thing, right? Like if
Right.
you made like the whole question around Jurassic Park being like, could we simply see the Jurassic Park tooling used to make Dino Riders, for example, at some point? Like totally conceptually, that seems like that would be easy. My question is if legally that's even an option.
I don't
Like
know if
I can,
it depends. Like I know, I'm gonna say his name. I apologize if anyway, Scott Nutlick,
Mhm.
however you pronounce that, was saying that when he worked, and it was recently on his director's commentary on classics about he was talking about Queen Angela.
Oh, okay.
Um, so Queen Angela has wings that are shared with Hawkman. Um,
Oh, okay.
So, for instance, he was saying that the way the licensing with DC worked was if they had made wings for Queen Angela,
Mhm.
they couldn't have used that for Hawkman. However, they made the wings for Hawk. I mean, of course, Scott did both brands, and he
Oh,
was always looking at how to
sure.
share the tooling. So, whenever they were prepping the Hawkman, according to what he said in the video, they told the DC license people at that point, we are
Mhm.
going to use these wings for classics because there's a lot of tooling. The four horsemen don't want to have to like resculpt all these feathers. It will get reused, and that was within limits of their contract because they weren't reusing on. It wasn't
So
reused
the
for
idea is if you're gonna make stuff for us, it has to be premium first run kind of thing. You're not just
yeah,
reusing old
and
things. But
that could
in that
it's
case, it might
probably
have been okay to yeah.
Right, and that might just be the terms of that contract. There may be
Sure, sure,
other
sure, sure.
licenses because we certainly
True,
don't
true,
see
true.
part usage between Star Wars and Marvel Legends,
Mhm.
which,
Right.
obviously sort of, but they're basically, they should be the same scale. But I mean, there's a lot of sort of generic pieces that they could use between those two lines that would actually give us more figures in Black
Yeah.
Series. But I would assume that's part of Lucasfilm after that Robin Hood, Min and
Right, right, right.
Prince of Thieves debacle where
Robin
Kenner
Hood Men.
reused. There was nothing that they did not reuse for that line. Like the developers, like, look, we found this old piece of bubble gum under the table from 1982. Let's use it. We just made Friar Tuck. That was his name, right? Friar Tuck.
Yes, Friar Tuck. Out of the
And I say
Gamorrean
that, but it
Guard.
was actually just the Gamorrean guard under a trench coat.
Mhm.
That flesh colored legs on that Gamorrean guard, like as far not a pleasant. My brother had all of those because I
Oh, I
obviously
didn't what, they just use the same green
they
color?
used the Gamorrean guard body for Friar Tuck and put like
But they use the
a
same plastics and
soft
everything.
bits. Yep, same tooling.
Oh my
It's a
god.
different head. Oh yeah, that entire line is like reuse.
Yes, yeah,
But that
yeah.
was how they got those toys out quickly.
And it's
It
for
was just,
like, come on, it was not at all anywhere like by any stretch of the imagination a kid's movie.
it was not. It wasn't even an adult movie. It was so bad. Like, and then it's got that Brian Adams song. Ugh, Brian Adams.
Everything I do. Yeah.
If he did everything, if he were actually doing everything he could do, he would just stop singing and retire and go away. And then I would know he actually was doing everything he could for me. So yeah. Oh, Brian Adams.
How you doing?
Allegedly, at one point,
Look
Brian
how
Adams
fast
was
you are. Damn.
going to be the lead singer of Kiss, but then, or like a new
Wait,
member of
what?
Kiss or something. Yeah, I was watching
Really?
some documentary on Kiss when, like, I guess Peter Criss was leaving. Maybe it was Kiss. Maybe it was a different band. I don't know. It was
Wow.
one of those bands at the time. I should know. I was an early member. The first time I broke my piggy bank was to buy Kiss Destroyer in like
Mm.
1977. So I would have been Tiny.
I thought you were gonna say I should know. I was one of the first members of Kiss.
Yeah, right.
Were you? So you were an early member of the Kiss Army? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, my bedroom wall as a child was Kiss posters and Star Wars posters.
My brother, I have an older brother that was also into Kiss heavily. I was just more so by osmosis, just the look of them, and had really
Yeah.
no sense of what the music was. It wasn't until like decades later that I actually heard the music, and there was such a profound mismatch in my head of what they looked like versus what they sounded like.
Yeah, right. Well, it was
Yeah.
really, for me, it was way more of the sort of makeup. I had seen them on TV,
Yeah,
and
it was so cool.
equal parts scary, but also theatrical. Like my first Halloween, and like for kindergarten, for Halloween I went as Princess Leia, but in first grade I went as Jane Simmons. So
Ah,
my mom made a wig out of yarn. That was
that right there is
yeah.
complex
My
and
parents
layered.
put up with a lot of weirdness from me as a child, and despite all their flaws, I will always love them for that. And there's a lot of stuff a lot of other kids would not have flown for them that I got away with. So I mean, like all the play sets, like my mom definitely believed in retail therapy, which is perfect for the 80s. Like in eighth grade,
Yes, that was a dream, right? That was
yeah,
the
we had
buy what
matching.
we all get to buy what we want.
She got us matching shirts at like Forever 21, red
Oh,
tie dye. And ironically, I'm wearing tie dye today. Red tie dye that said "Shop till you drop." And yeah, and of course it was an adult size, and I was still like a child, so it was like I would belt it up and run around all summer in that outfit like it was a dress. So,
yeah, this stuff
go
blends
find a
pretty
corner
nicely
out in the
together.
swamp and read a book and watch out for gators.
Did you ever see one real life?
Oh yeah, the game warden used to have to came a couple times to take
Oh, that's
alligator
right.
out from under the house because it would try to hibernate up there.
Yeah, I feel like you mentioned
we
that
would throw rocks at them if you saw them, which is not smart. That's not how gators are like more prone to attack if you throw shit at them. But if one comes running at you, you just run in a zigzag pattern and really wide arcs. Because of that tail, they can run really fast, but they can only run like in a straight line. So zigzags.
Yeah.
Same with a machine gun. Like if
What was
a
the name
gangster
of?
is shooting at you.
Was it Rickon or which snow was that? Oh, you didn't watch it. Never mind. I forgot your relationship to Game of Thrones. But there is a scene in which someone is being shot at with arrows, and he proceeds to run in a straight line rather than zigzag.
Oh, it's Ken. Hello, Ken.
Hey, Ken.
About 10 minutes ago. Sorry. This is how it happens. Derek has a point about visionaries, which would have been when we were talking scale. Exactly. If visionaries had been in scale with the G.I. Joe or He-Man, visionaries would be a bigger deal now.
Yeah, I had one visionaries, and it bummed me out so much that he was built like a G.I. Joe figure. But in terms of the O-ring but bigger. Weirded me out so
Let's
much.
see, Thanos. I wonder if Thanos, as far as this question, I do know that Hasbro looks at all the old properties that are under their umbrella and that it goes through marketing stuff. So if sadly, I think if there's something that isn't going to appeal beyond adult collectors, that probably would be something a company like Super 7 be able to license, but they probably aren't going to do those toys. Not that that's an official statement from Hasbro. It's just what I've heard is their current relationship to old properties. Nolan, yeah.
Can you
Good morning,
use,
Alpha Matters.
Hey,
Oh, sorry.
Humanius. No, I would love to hear you speak a little bit more. Just to clarify for my brain, are you saying that they basically prefer to do something that has a potential of skewing younger and like has more
Yeah, I mean,
appeal
I
versus like these
yeah,
obscure older brands? Got it. Got it.
I
Got it.
think if they're gonna do something that we would consider obscure, that it's going to
Mhm.
be something they think
Farmed out.
will go big because they don't,
Mhm.
like they've got, like Star Wars it's an evergreen, but it's an evergreen nostalgia line.
Yes.
But
Okay.
there's, like G.I. Joe, great example. They own G.I. Joe, and it's like when they brought it back, they tried to not have it be a nostalgia line, but it just, the fandom was not having that. But like the goal is, if there's any toy company that's not trying to court a new consumer base from younger people that aren't Gen X or elder millennials, then like they're doomed to fail because we're all gonna die soon, relatively. Like, and if
Happy
you're still
Sunday, folks. You're all gonna die
trying to court
soon.
that one audience for all time, then like like you're done. So
You're saying that
but
dead people don't make enough, don't
dead
what am
people
I trying to
don't
say?
buy enough
They don't
toys.
generate enough profit. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, it's like like when zombies come, they go looking for brains. They don't go to Walmart to get an exclusive Moss. I mean, not that Moss Man's going to be at Walmart.
But they did go to malls back in the day.
They did go to the malls, so we all
Oh,
went to
that's
the malls
interesting.
back in the day. Yeah, so I
You know,
mean,
I
like,
was
oh, sorry.
well, no. I was just gonna say on the whole, because you mentioned Super 7 in particular, that like, yeah, that very much is like that's their brand, really. It's so much it's driven by nostalgia. It started that way, right? It started with, hey, we're really curious about these really cool old Godzilla figures, Japanese Sofubi like toys, which were very much retro even at the time in the 90s. So they were like, all right, let's talk about them, let's resurrect them, let's generate more interest. And so it makes sense for them to do that as a business model. That's always been what they've done versus Hasbro trying to create the sort of next big thing, right? And for young people that can last beyond us dead zombies.
Yeah, and and I'm be really honest. As much as I love all of the nostalgia brands, I mean, that's why. Same with sort of AWOC for you. Like whenever I saw the Gemstone Guardians thing, I'm digging it. I want it to be a thing. Because it is sort of just a moment, sir. Sir,
Carl.
keep going. It's Oli. Well, he just keeps trying to knock over the pile of figures. Anyway, I've got like a stack of boxed and carded figures over there. And the kitten at 11 weeks old has decided he needs to scale Figure Mountain. So I just saw a little orange head poke up from between boxes. And like, that all comes tumbling down. Anyway, he ran off. He's pretty much just trying to get my attention. So, as children types tend to do. So
yeah, you're always talking to these weird spirits in the box.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Spend time with me.
But yeah, I mean, I just like I like that idea. It's like AWOC has not yet made a figure, because I'm assuming the women, we've been told the women and the females and
Oh yeah, yeah.
the lady femmes are on the way. So like, that's probably when I'll get in, and I probably will just cherry pick because I am.
Well, they just finally shared prototypes because it just didn't work for PowerCon because they had to send those out
right
to the factories, the paint masters, right a little bit before PowerCon, so they had nothing to show because those were shipped off. And right now at Legion's Con, they finally were able to reveal some of the prototypes, or I think they're factory samples, actually, gray test shots, maybe, or
so
some
cool.
some version thereof. and they look really good. But yeah, I agree. Like, I totally get the notion of like wanting new stuff. Obviously, that's kind of
Well, you know, and I think
part of what I do.
I think in some, you know, like in some ways it's kind of too bad because, you know, like a company, you know, like Hasbro, for instance, like just Golden Girl was one of the ones then, which is the, you know, one sort of that I'm most interested in.
Mhm.
It didn't have a huge footprint. So in theory, that's something that would be easier to bring back and like do something really different with. You know, like if you look at Real American Hero, G.I. Joe in 81, 82, it was pretty radically different from what they had done before because it was just like they were dolls. The G.I. Joe wasn't actually really G.I. Joe anymore because the entire backlash to the Vietnam War, they weren't really wanting to make war toys.
Yep.
One of the reasons a lot of people pass on Star Wars, it doesn't get mentioned a lot, is the, you know, the war element of it was not necessarily, you know, it took a while for some people to realize, oh, it's fake, science fiction-y, adventure war. It's not like war.
And it's also told from the point of view of the rebels and
yeah,
you know,
so
people
it's,
trying
you know,
to make things better. Yeah, it's very
yeah,
different.
so it, you know, it had but it, you know, it's still kind of a hard sell, and it's like G.I. Joe had, you know,
Yes.
G.I. Joe Adventure Team. It was a different. There are people who have affection for that, but G.I. Joe was sort of in this place where it needed to be basically reinvented, and since the boomers who first had G.I. Joe weren't quite as nostalgic as they've become and as we are as Gen X, they were kind of able to go in there and do something with G.I. Joe, and it was a thing. And it was a big thing. And I feel like, you know, something like Golden Girl, they could, our Sectaurs even, somebody could come in and do a whole new, you know, take the basics of it and then make something really big and really cool and really new. But the problem becomes is there's that small, crusty old fan who will never
not my Sectaurs.
Let it go. Yeah, right. It's too woke now. It's like, and it's not that it's woke. It's just it's different. Like we got to stop calling things woke, people, just because it doesn't look like it used to, and it looks more like things look now.
Sure, and I actually would add to that and say, well, maybe it actually is woke in the sense that if you're defining woke, if you're afraid of or feel like the latest boogeyman, a la the 50s pinko commies, you know, or, you know, whatever it is back in the day, if you're trying to find the new boogeyman and use the word woke, let's just really break down what we're talking about. And it's like, well, we kind of want to see more women. We want to see more people of color. Like, honestly, if that's a scary sentiment to you, like, I don't know, maybe then I get it. You want us to go back to sleep. Sorry, this is that part. But no, I'll just say that, like, if that, because I'm not going to concede that by any way, shape, or form that is a negative. Sorry, I'm just not. And so, but you know, that's all that's being maybe added, and then I think there's some other things that people are concerned on that just kind of conflate it all, and they lose sight of the basic premises. So many of us, myself included, didn't see ourselves in this dude's complexion or his blue eyes. I'm sorry, we just didn't. Even their insects had to look like this, blonde haired, blue eyed. Well, just saying.
There was the one sort of,
how about this
Middle
guy?
Eastern-ish. Like he looks like he could have been Middle Eastern-ish.
Yeah. And I appreciated this guy because he had a tan for sure. Like this is their Duncan Idaho.
And it wasn't Barbie suntan. It was like it was a darker complexion suntan. So.
And they went exotic with the purple eyes. But anyway, so.
Well, they are dogs.
With the whole like, yeah. So. I don't know, that whole like quick to cast, like, oh, we shouldn't like this thing because it's quote unquote, here's the label, without really understanding it is obnoxious. But I do think if they were to do a modern version of this, I feel like the elements are there. The idea of bugs is universal. The idea of giant creatures is universal. The idea of good versus evil versus like looking at us living with our world, because these really are like, there's a little bit of nature going on, right? Like trying to
Mhm.
figure out how do we live with the animals and
Right.
but anyway.
Yeah, I just again, like I think Golden Girl, like, with all
Mhm.
of sort of what's going on sort of in the arena of women empowerment right now and sort of, all of the things that scare certain men with small hangups. Um, I think there's room
Well,
for us, like that evolution of sort of barbarian warrior woman. Like it builds on sort of Xena, and they could go in because there's so little of that actual. There's a really basic story that would be really easy to take and adapt and create something new from. There was a really that was a diverse toy line for the time. Like there was a black
you're
one,
talking Xena?
Golden Girl.
Oh, Golden Girl. Gotcha.
Golden
Uh-huh.
Girl in Wave One had a black gemstone warrior. It took Princess of Power Wave Three Natasha to like finally have, and that was after Butterfly Woman and Sunman were released. Like Hasbro, I'm sorry, Mattel did not bring any diversity to that and to either line until they had a direct competitor. So like, that's sort of the irony when
True. Yeah, I hadn't
people get
thought of
mad
that.
about sort of Rulers of the Sun, and they're like, but we had Clamp Champ. We didn't have Clamp Champ until after Rulers of the Sun had started taking away from Mattel's profits. They didn't get that sort of inclusion in either line until they were losing money in that demographic. And, like you can look at the dates. Sunman started hitting in like, I want to say 86. Clam Champ was wave 87, would have been developed in 86. Look at how the type of figure he was, like, except for the head sculpt, he was complete reuse of existing tooling. And of course, that was one of the years that the line was not as profitable as it had been the year before. So it's one of the things you have to sort of look at in the grand scheme. Part of there are many things that led to the original downfall of Motu, but some of it is they had lost a little. That's what there was an interview I watched with Wyla Eason. She didn't say any of this, of course, on camera directly, but she did mention it's a little ironic that all these years later that they want to work with me.
Mm-hmm.
Because she didn't know, like I would not be surprised if back in the day she went to Mattel and they just had no time for her. Because for her Bronze Bomber line, Hasbro actually let her use molds from G.I. Joe. Hasbro worked with her on the Bronze Bomber. She got to reuse some of that tooling.
For the vehicles or
for the
or
figures.
figures?
Yeah, Google the Bronze Bomber figure line sometimes. A lot of I want to say
Yeah, there's a store here in Alameda that had a bunch of them, and I was kind of just staring
I
at
want to
them.
say it's been a while since I've dug around, so my memory of who is who may be wrong, but I feel pretty certain the black female member of
Oh, oops!
the
It's not
Bronze
even on
Bomber
camera.
was Cover Girl. It was just a reuse of Cover Girl.
Ah.
And and if you're gonna reuse tooling from a figure, that would be ideal from the Hasbro point of view because she was a pack-in with a vehicle. By that point, they weren't making Cover Girl anymore, so she was basically would have been a retired figure. Like it just makes sense to me that like but again, like Hasbro was willing to work, and GI Joe was. And that's sort of sometimes the irony when people get mad about Glinda and agendas with G.I. Joe Classified. G.I. Joe was really diverse back then. I had G.I. Joes. Why? Because Scarlet, Baroness, CoverGirl, Lady J,
Yeah.
Jinx, Zorana, Chuckles. Anyway, because in my head canon, Chuckles, Zorana, and Xandar were in a love triangle, and Zorana interrupted Xandar and Chuckles' wedding. Whenever the priest was like, is there anyone here who has a reason these two should not be married? Zorana busted in and was like, you can't marry my brother because I love you more. Anyway, that saga went on for at least 5 months at our house. I mean, and the wedding was on the deck of the flag, and
Nice.
And like there was a ceasefire between Joe's and the Dreadnoughts.
Oh, wow.
Piranha just
Beautiful.
comes
Beautiful.
sweeping in on the Serpento Sky Chariot and just ruined it all. So, and CoverGirl was going to catch the
Ceasefire
good
for
hit.
love.
Yeah. So anyway, so yeah. Again, I was not a normal kid, and I'm happy about that because I had a lot more fun with my toys than probably a lot of people did because I was bringing in all of it. I watched soap operas, I watched horror movies. Castle Grayskull often got to be like where the slasher killer lived, and
Nice.
my Princess of Power would do double duty as like final girls and slasher victims from the slasher movies. So there was a summer where they were all characters from Return of the Living Dead, and Catra had to be trash. So, because she was trash.
Of course.
So, because that movie, again, like their movies my mom let me watch. I'm just like, maybe I should not have watched Savage Streets with Linda Blair at like 10. I would have been 11.
That's not even on my radar.
Oh, it's got a pretty graphic assault scene in it. But it wasn't, oddly for the time, it was not, it was exploitative in the fact that it was horrible and awful and disgusting and vile. It wasn't played up as that act often would have been in those kind of movies where it was like, it was awful to watch. As a child, like of 11, I'm like, but also I was just like, oh, that's, like, welcome to the real world, kid. But yeah, so I would not recommend it because it's got that. It's very interesting that Linda Blair is the head of a girl gang that the rest of them are like black and Latino, but she's white. Her name's Brenda in the movie, so there you go. So yeah. But it was one of the many reasons I wanted a crossbow so I could go fight crime. My parents never got me that crossbow. My uncle was going to give me one of his extra ones. My mom was like, no crossbow. It will be bad. So.
That's a good call.
Yeah, it really is because I know right now who the first person I was shot with that crossbow is.
Oh no.
People would not have understood until much, much later. And they'd be, but why? Why was it Phil Collins? And I'd be like, you just don't understand. And then I'd be like, but he didn't see it coming in the air tonight.
I can see it.
Oh my God, I've just been shot by a crossbow. It was, No, Phil Collins. One day.
Is Kayla here? I don't know if Kayla's here, but she spoke really highly of the Tarzan soundtrack, and I was surprised by that, and I kind of let it go.
Muriel, shut up. Hello, Muriel.
Hi, Muriel.
We love you, Muriel. How is it 12? How is it an hour and 15 minutes into this, Brooke? It's flying by.
I'm just coloring. I'm having a blast, and I'm looking at these characters again, kind of looking at them for reference, and just having a good old time seeing these things again.
All right. Oh, cats. Nonsense.
Did you work on the wings yet? No. Okay.
I have not.
Like, see how you tackle that.
Yeah, right. It's gonna be an adventure, but
just some,
I've got some
fun
ideas.
Rainbow goodness.
Well, like I tried to practice some holographic stuff earlier in the week, and it was no. We're gonna say this. I was like, this might be the time where like it goes awry, and I was okay with that. I'm like, it's good for people to see that sometimes even Allison can't accomplish what she wanted to. And there are things that, like there are things that go wrong in my shorts all the time, but the time lapse hides it.
Sure.
All right. Breaking out the green okra. Sounds like the cats
What
are
is
up to no good.
this? Pomegranate.
Oh, that's one of my favorites. It's
Yeah.
nice, dark, reddish.
AKA
Really clear.
grenade. Fun
Granat.
fact.
Yeah.
Isn't that right? That the idea of a
think
grenade comes from a pomegranate, and my
Probably.
understanding is, I don't know if this is just mythologized true, like what it is, but Da Vinci supposedly, that's what I'd heard, had looked at the pomegranate and the structure of these sort of shapes, smaller shapes within that break apart.
It does have that same structure, so
Yeah, and all those little bits inside are basically, shrapnel that explode.
when I'm a big time YouTuber, I'm gonna have like a fact checker here just to
Yeah,
like go look up
totally.
shit to tell us.
This is
like,
garbage.
like,
Brick
what
is
is
just
real and what
making
is
up
not.
nonsense.
Oh no, I picture it completely like the Brick's absolutely right. In 1877. And then the grenade was created by some dude who wanted to blow people up in a war.
Well, I mean, Da Vinci designed all sorts of weapons, like early concepts for tanks and flying machines that, didn't necessarily have to be weapons, but they sort of did.
He
Repeating
sort of-
guns.
Yeah.
Anyways, that turned really weird.
French women who sit around and smile mysteriously. Da Vinci.
Ooh, wait a second. Lost my light source. Oh well.
Oh no.
It's black.
Is it a total eclipse where you are?
Total eclipse of the sun. Some great. Oh, by the way, did you see my comment about your Lita Ford? Thank you for bringing back Lita Ford into my life.
You're welcome. Muriel has offered to be the fact checker, but she says, I can't guarantee the facts I tell you will be true. And I'm there for it. I'm there. That's exactly the fact checker I need, where it's like people have to go look themselves and research to make
You just have to commit to it. Yeah. Commit to it the way that Allison's McFarlane figure reports are committed
And then
to.
yesterday's podcast, aka Derek, is popping in. Everyone go listen to yesterday's. I think I get a shout out on one of them for becoming a Patreon, but also like I think I'm going to be in the Gremlins episode they're doing because I told my Gremlins story and he heard it. And
I appreciate that they're covering things that aren't always covered. So including
I've liked
Monster Squad. And
what I enjoyed was there was that week about the high school, like with monster kids or whatever. Like I forget the Gravestone High or something.
I didn't even know about it. Yeah, that was one of those things
I
that I had no idea about.
That was a thing that existed. And then I didn't realize that the creepy crawler things had come back. So like, and it's really hard for people to find stuff I don't know about. So when pop culture wise anyway. So anytime somebody can reveal pop culture stuff to me, I'm excited because it's like, oh, I did not know that.
Yep.
And I know almost everything, so it's really like it happens. Anyway, Bumpy Skylar's brunch.
Dargon. Prince Dargon.
Jargon finds his rescuers. It sounds like they didn't rescue you, Jargon. It sounds like you had to rescue them. What a Mary
It was
Sue.
the 80s.
All right, let's see. All right, most of these rocks are brownish, which is real, so I'm going to make some purple rocks.
That's what I did too, because of my backdrop, and I think that's definitely an Etheria thing that I got, or a little bit of John Carter-ish kind of thing
Something.
that I've picked up. But I like the idea of purple rocks. Plus, you know, the contrast with all the blues and everything else that's going on, just to give us something a little different.
I wanted to do brown and yellow for everything so that when I do the wings, it'll show up how badly
Nice. You're right. You're right.
the wings will look so extra bad surrounded by all of the
No, the
brown and
colors.
yellow.
No, they'll pop
Yeah.
because of the. And this is also my attempt to work some actual more color in my. I went through a phase of just, you know, the all black clothes or whatever, just not in a goth way necessarily, just
But
to
in
keep
an
it
emo
simple.
way.
Not even in an emo way. It was like you know, I don't know. Just
You weren't driving around in a Miata listening to like Evanescence, whatever it was.
emo to me is probably close to what people now call screamo when it sort of started out. Anyway,
No, Avril Lavigne.
that's another show. Let's see, blue blues.
He was a boy and she was a girl. Could she make it any more obvious? Actually, no, Avril, you could not. You could not make it any more obvious.
Oh, Avril Lavigne.
I mean, I should not talk smack because I'm probably wearing this on my hand because of her. So there you go. No, Avril.
All right, here we go. Colors, just pop, pop, pop. Oh, duh, I didn't even color in the rest of the sky.
Oh, wait. Kenzo, do you want to know a secret? I created the microchip. I believe that, Kenzo. It seems logical. Seems like a thing that could happen.
Muriel, could you fact check that for us?
Muriel asked, what were inside the Greek grenades? Olives. It was olives. Stuffed with
Were there Greek grenades?
pimentos. I don't know. Oh, wait. Oz is like, yeah, they use Greek fire and surround a sphere with a type of spiked shrapnel. The Chinese use a grenade style that use gunpowder with the fuse. It's like a bomb.
Okay, so Da Vinci was probably just pulling from those ancient practices and maybe looked at a pomegranate to make them more modern version.
He looked at a pomegranate. He looked at ancient things. He's like, I know how I could appropriate this. Welcome to Portugal. I'm going to colonize this fruit and turn it into a bomb.
Colonize.
And now we have pomegranate and grenades.
How long were you on Oz last night? How long did that go?
I think until the actual end. It was accidental, but I don't know, like 1 a.m. my time, which is like 7 tomorrow.
A couple more hours after.
Yeah, so it was a while. Like I didn't mean to. It was just like I had one of my coloring pages, the one I was working on, like in the beginning before we got started. I started that on. I finished one on stream last night and started that on stream. And then we ended the stream, and then I looked up, and it was like almost 3, and I was still working on it. And I was like, I should do some stuff that I needed to get done. But also, like, I wanted to jump on earlier than normal because it was Corey from Make Shape Create's first time. And since, like, I sort of introduced him to this whole side of ToyTube, I was like, well, it would be kind of rude to not be there for a chunk of the time he's going to hang out. You know, it just seemed nice. But I'm not really I'm a good person. I'm not a nice person. So.
Sectaurs. All right.
No,
good enough.
Oh, wait. Oh, that was the point, though, of all of that before I got distracted. Greek fire was an oil they made, but you could use flaming poo. That would stick better. everything is better with everything. Well, it only sticks if it's poo if you don't have enough water in your diet. So if it's sticky and it's poo, drink more water, more fiber, more water. So, but I can imagine the Greeks probably did have really sticky poo. All those olives and feta.
The rendering on this Dargon is not the face is.
It's
I
a
assume
little
they drew these 1-to-1, so you're losing a lot of detail versus like drawing
yeah.
it bigger and shrinking them down.
And also, these are from his sample scans that he has up. These aren't the like ones that he would sell. So these are just this is like a most basic thing. I actually did.
But these are vintage, right? When you say that,
yeah, these
like,
are actually from vintage.
okay.
And I went to look them up on eBay because I was like, well, I could just buy them. But all of them in good condition are pretty spendy, actually. So I was like, we'll just use the free samples. I'll give Retro Reprints an extra shout out during the stream, and eventually he will get to Sectaurs, and then I'll have the whole one because the art is really it's good, and my unrealistic goal is to sort of color all of these books, so and stick them on the internet, because why not? Between everything else I'm trying to do, like, it's reasonable, you know. You don't have ambition, what do you got? You got a hieroglyphics episode you do every Sunday that nobody watches. So.
Oh, shots fired.
It was a grenade made of poo and pomegranate.
I've always thought, like, oh, that's interesting. I should watch those, and just never have.
I have attempted many times because I'm like, that would be cool to learn, but not everyone in this world is a teacher.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. No, I hear you.
Yeah, so I mean, I tried even before, like, he took a right turn into Ass Clown Bastard Town.
Ass Clown Bastard Town.
No.
Oops.
Phil Collins is the mayor of there. So, yeah, so.
I think I'm getting to the place where at least most of what needs to be covered is covered. And now I think then I'll have to go in and kind of figure out some level of shading and whatever. But I think I've got good coverage.
Like, did you do a lot of art when you were younger? Because your page is looking pretty good, sir.
Thank you. So the thing with art, I did, and it was around me. My brother, who is now a professional creative, a very accomplished one, but growing up in the family, it was very much like, he's such an artist. He's an artist. So then, and that, for me, and I had, looking back, I haven't had an eye for it and was interested in it, but it wasn't nurtured in that same way. And I didn't receive the identity, right? So the sense was like, well, I guess that's not me, or I'm not good enough. And there was a lot of that. And he and I are both musicians as well. And there's a little bit of that until I got to say maybe late middle school, early high school, when it was just like, F it, I'm going to do my own thing. And, but with a bitter angst to it. So yes, I would do art. In fact, when I got to college, out in Santa Barbara here in California, I went in as I was interested in art, but I was like, nah, that's not me. My brother's the artist. He's the creative. He's doing amazing things. And I was like, well, I was interested, supposedly computer science. I got in as a computer science major because my head was I was going to make video games. But then I quickly changed to communication studies, which is basically like the social science, like sociology, psychology of communication. And then I took an art class my first quarter, which because that's actually one of the things that I wanted to do. At the end of the day, what I told myself is I wanted to do work in magazines, if anybody knows what those are. And I wanted to do like design, layout, not so much illustration, because again, in my head,
Right.
like, no, that's different. And so I was doing all sorts of creative stuff, did the art major, printmaking class, and all of a sudden I was like, no, I can't walk away from this. I love it too much. It's so fun. These classes are super interesting. They're hands-on while also being theoretical. And I was like, this is for me. So I double majored. And so yeah, there's an art background there. And then as far as work goes, so you consider what I'd said I was doing, magazines were kind of like it's hard to find a magazine job because one, they weren't making much money, and two, it was just a different industry.
Yeah.
And so I graduated from college in 98. So we're talking like birth of the internet. Like, and I was getting into it. I was geeking out on like, oh, the internet's cool. And how do I make a web page? I remember doing early action figure photography with my Toy Biz Marvel figures. And I would, instead of having a camera, because we didn't have digital cameras then, I wasn't going to pay for developing it, I threw them in a flatbed scanner and would scan them and get them in that way. And then I'd put them on this website that I was creating, because really, I remember doing that one in a couple of weeks because I was trying to show that I had some web development experience to do two things. One, to get in this class that you had to take like prerequisites for or whatever. And I was like, no, I get this stuff. Just let me in. And to apply for a job. And anyway, from there, I quickly, during school, I got a job doing early web development stuff. And a lot of it was because I was doing my own sort of online zine. I was a zine kid, like back in the day. So I skipped around a little bit. But when I got to the magazines, part of that was because I was into doing fanzines, punk stuff. And, Xerox and cut and paste and doing stuff on my old Mac Classic and whatever. And then, but again, all of this is very much like not illustration. So, because in my head, that's my brother. And yeah, I do design stuff. He doesn't. So anyway, long story. Yes, there's that art background. And in many ways, it was like, oh, I'm not going to embrace it as much or do it as much. And oh yeah, I'm painting for, at first school projects. And then it was, I'm painting for myself. I want to do paintings. I want to do a show. And it's one of those things where I would do things a little bit. And then I don't know if it was self-sabotaging or then I just kind of move on to the next thing. So I do consider myself like I have a background in art. I don't use it enough. I have a handful of paintings that I've done that I even have hanging in the house. I have a lot of graphic design and digital illustration stuff. I was doing music before, and of course, like naturally, I ended up doing a lot of the like, merch design and album art, and I was working with like indie labels doing their design for covers and stuff. So a lot of that kind of thing, but always kind of a little bit on the under because there was this weird complex that I had of like, oh no, the art thing, that's my brother. So anyway, now I just sort of find I don't have a ton of client work anymore. I just sort of haven't pursued it in about a good 10 years. But the channel and doing like, all the graphics and the bumpers, or even like when I offered to help you out with the just turning
logo that you completely made awesome.
No, you had it, and I was just like, okay, here's the art. I'm gonna digitize it, right? I'm gonna turn it into a vector and whatever. Like, that's my big outlet. This is really fun and exciting to me to be able to do this coloring thing right now, and then to be able to do video editing when it's not super tedious, or to do bumpers and kind of pretend that I'm doing a riff on the MTV News or whatever it is that I'm doing graphically and creatively. So there's definitely art in the background.
It's cool. Well, I'm just looking at your page, and it's definitely.
Hey.
Where did my camera go?
Is there a truck backing up in your living room?
It's just the microwave. All right, so it looks like. Where did we go? Let's see. Oh, there it is. All right. Oh, internet. You're just so persnickety sometimes.
Yeah, this is fun. So how many hours would you say you actually get to end up coloring in a week? It's gotta be
Oh
a good
gosh.
amount, right?
Yeah, it's the last few weeks not as much because I finished sort of the period where I was working on all of the shorts. I've got
Mhm.
enough daily shorts through the first full week of January.
That is
Um,
amazing.
yeah, so it varies, especially as I started to. And originally, I was like just going to do the most simple pages. I wasn't going to do anything complicated like this. And toward the end, I was doing complicated pages.
Mhm.
Just because it kind of gets boring doing sort of a profile picture every time. I started wanting to do more, and I also, like I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to go with sort of the shorts and the coloring content on the channel. Like I have a really clear idea for history stuff what I want to do, and sort of
Mhm.
videos on character profiles. The coloring stuff was really like. I mean, born during the pandemic because I found all these old strawberry shortcake coloring books that I've been carrying forever. And I have a lot of the books I bought as in the last few weeks, months, were books I had as a kid and never colored because
Mm.
I was the person always trying to find the right art material. Like I would get, like I had um, She-Ra, the She-Ra coloring book, the Who's Who book. I had. And I never colored in it because I needed the right materials. And of course, I didn't quite know what those were at the time because, fifth or sixth grade. And at that point, the art teacher, it was the year that she was gone to have her baby. And we had like the
This is high
substitute.
school or
This was like where I went to
grade
school was
school?
so small. We didn't have middle school. You were
Oh, gotcha.
elementary, then high school. So it
Uh-huh.
was like kindergarten through seventh grade was elementary, and then eighth through senior was high school. So like it was like fifth or sixth grade. She was gone to have her baby. She's a
Mhm.
grown ass adult now and making jewelry and art.
Oh,
Me and
you're in
her daughter,
touch. Wow, that's amazing.
with her daughter now, or my art teacher passed a few years ago.
Okay,
So
okay, okay.
she had Alzheimer's really bad.
Mm,
And this was going on when I was trying to find her and reconnect with her. And I
mm,
stopped using Facebook and the internet and my skills. I found her daughter, and I was just like, "Hey, I pretended like," but there was no way it wasn't her daughter because it looks just like her, but also like the name was exactly the same. There were
mhm,
pictures
mhm.
of them. Um, And I was just like, "Hey, is this your mom?" And I'm trying to find her, and this is why. And she was like, "Yeah." She's like, "We can arrange that." She's like, "We just need to talk." So I was like, "Oh, sure." And I was afraid. Well, I was afraid her mom had passed, and she just didn't want to tell me through Facebook
Uh,
Messenger or whatever.
sure, sure.
And then we talked, and she explained she was pretty far along in the Alzheimer's. She wasn't having a lot of good days, but she also
Mm,
wasn't having bad days. I set up a couple calls. Um, she remembered me on some of them she didn't. But since it wasn't necessarily fully about me at that point, that was kind of
mhm.
okay. Um, but one of them she did remember me, and we were talking, and she was like, I was just like, "You'll be happy to know I finally figured out how to do eyelashes properly." And it was really, and it was sort of when I figured out sort of one of the components that makes Alzheimer's hard for like family members, because
Mhm.
you know she was like in her 70s, I would say. Yeah, because she was a teenager in the 60s, so she would have been in her 70s. Um, so she had an older lady's voice, right?
Mhm.
And like it's obviously my imagination, but in my head I could have swore I heard like a click. And all of a sudden she said like it was 1983, 84. Like she was like, yeah, you need to stop drawing eyelashes like that. People's eyelashes aren't consistent like that. They're jagged, they're weird. You're drawing them like they're robots. And it was the exact same cadence and the exact same way she told me that, like in
Back in
like
the
the
day.
art classroom, like when I was sitting there drawing it.
Mhm.
And then she like took my pad away and she ripped the paper off, threw it aside, gave me a
Oh.
fresh piece of paper, you know, flipped it to the fresh page, gave me a sharpened pencil, like nice graphite, Prismacolor
Mhm.
graphite pencils. Sat me down. She grabbed a chair and sat down right in front of me. And she's like, "Look at my face and draw what you see." And she's like, "Draw my eyelashes exactly how they looked."
Yeah.
And that was when I realized how to draw eyelashes. But she said in the exact same cadence. Her voice sounded it changed. Her voice changed. For that one moment, she sounded like she was like 27, 30, however old she was.
Oh, fascinating.
And it shook me though. It was really like that was the hardest moment because like you want
Mm.
to cry, but like,
Mhm.
and she slipped right out of it. So it's like she can't. If she had come back to me having this emotional moment, that would have been worse for her because she's not even entirely sure anymore who I am. So it was like it was hard, but it was also really good because it was like, you know, I got sort of that moment with her where it was like somehow reaffirmed everything that she had taught me and
Mhm.
reminded me, and I remembered exactly that that was the advice. Like I'd never forgotten that advice. And just having her repeat it verbatim the way it lived in my brain was like,
That's amazing.
it was amazing. And it was just, you know, we got to, there was one day she accidentally butt dialed me and thought I was her daughter.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't correct her and I talked to her for like an hour and just let her talk. Um,
Mhm.
because obviously that's what she needed. She needed, you know, and that's what you sort of learn to do, I guess, whenever a situation like that presents itself. You just, you do the best you can. And like, you know, and she was so, I mean, like I would not do art. I would not be doing this without her having, you know, like it was during that I realized that I have Monet on my wall. Um,
Mm.
you know, and I've got Starry Night always has to be like on the wall in my bedroom, and I have to have, I forget the real name of it, but Sunday in the Park with George always has to be over the TV, and I realized that was because of her. Because when I was in her class, there was this art magazine that we had. You know, it came like once a month, and there were lessons in it. And it was before my dad started making good money. We could not afford it. And she dipped into her pocket with her
Oh, that's
1980
awesome.
whatever teacher's salary and bought that subscription for me so that I had those and you know, like I'm feeling a little teary right now, but like you know,
Oh.
and it was just like that was, you know, and I was, you know, I was mostly well behaved in class for all my teachers, so I rarely had teachers who didn't like me. I had a lot of teachers who didn't know how to deal with me because I was very, I have not changed a lot. You know, like I've changed in many ways, but there are ways like my personality is the same today as it wasn't when I was 10, where it's like I will just sometimes say shit. Like we had the one time I did get in trouble, we had a substitute. And my parents were very young, so I was never raised to say yes, sir, and yes, ma'am
Mhm.
automatically. People had to, I was told
Earn it.
adults have to earn your respect.
Mhm.
And all of my teachers for whatever I don't know if my parents talked to them before classes started or if they just, because I came in acting like an adult, like I was a 30-year-old from the time I was like 3 until I was 21, and then suddenly I reverted to a 16-year-old. But I don't know what, but they always gave me a wide berth, but this substitute did not. And she was like, "You will refer to me as yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. That's how we talk to adults." I'm like, "Well, my parents say I don't have to talk to you that way because you don't get that unless I respect you, and you definitely have not earned any respect today." So I got sent to the office for that. And the principal tried to like do what principals try to do, and then my mom came down and went off on him. It was very Karen of her, but like it's all right when it's your mom going Karen on the print. And he was a white cisgender ass fuck, so fuck that dude. Good for him. And my mom was very timid usually and very shy and had social anxieties. So the fact that she was able in that moment to go off on him and like tell him to like back off, and that teacher never got to substitute for any class I was ever in again after I left the room. Who even knows what happened? My mom probably, I mean, I have to inherit this from somewhere, so she may have threatened his life and offered to bury the body somewhere nobody would ever find it, which if so, yay mom. Everyone needs Mrs. Voorhees. It's like I don't condone murder, but we all get why Mrs. Voorhees did what she did. So, all right, really quick, let's check the chat. Muriel is asking, Brick, did you go to UCSB? What's up, Gaucho?
I did. Yeah, I heard her say that. I forget if it was with Kayla the first stream or the second one, but yeah, I remember hearing the UCSB, and I feel like I said something about it because she was there and then moved to LA, if I remember right.
That is the backstory that we're aware of. With Muriel, it's all very mysterious, so it's possible there's an entire like segment of time that we just don't know about yet. And like when that episode happens, like we'll know because we need to know because shit's about to go down. And she's like, by the way, I spent a summer in Narnia and I now am a warrior queen and get out of my way. I've got a crossbow. And I'm like, but I saw a movie once. I think I know how to do it. And so.
See, Galita.
It's believable.
Yeah, that's actually where I met my partner, my spouse, my wife. Yeah.
And you guys have been together for a while, right?
Ooh, a long time. I was just reading Ralph's thing about his anniversary, and it occurred to me. Yeah, so we've been together for 25 years and have been married for 21. Yeah, it's wild. It's insane.
It's an accomplishment.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yes, it is. And yes, and I've been teaching for a good almost 20 years. So
that's amazing.
I was commenting to someone, I was like, well, if you told me that I'd be doing something for that long, anything, whatever it is, I wouldn't have believed you.
Right.
But here I am. You're a little on the blue-green side, whatever your name is, Steed, but that's because I went blue with the background.
Oh, wow. That looks good. That looks like a comic book illustration. I'm gonna maximize.
What did you study, if you don't mind sharing? I was Oh, sorry. I was asking Muriel at UCSB, but I would love to know about you as well. Because it's her chat's still up on the thing.
It looks so good, Brick. I'm impressed.
Thank you.
Shamed by how mediocre mine is in comparison. So
no, come on now.
That's the way it
Anthro.
should be.
Got it.
All right.
She did Anthro.
Hello, Ed. Good to see you. Just making sure I didn't miss anyone.
Yes, I was in the art studio department and the communication studies. Yeah.
Also, Derek Rick, 6 years older than me. Jesus, I need to start taking better care of myself. Moisturize something. All of the above. Moisturize, moisturize, moisturize. It will save your lives. All right.
I think we don't. Yeah, we also don't have the harsh weather that a lot of people deal with. So I think I'm a little bit spoiled in that way.
Yeah, that helps. The sun is a killer.
Sun in the winter, the drying.
Oh yeah, that's what kills me up here is the winter when my skin gets all Caucasian and crackly. It's the
From the Caucasus
ginger.
Mountains.
Yeah, I'm from Mayo Sapiens, like from the Mayonnaise Valley of like Scotland or whatever country that we're saying we're from this year to make us sound exotic. No, I think. Well, I mean, like I present very Caucasian, so.
If I stayed for one more quarter, sorry, I'm going back to the school thing. So one of the first classes I took, because I couldn't get my major classes, communication was like pretty impacted, was a Black Studies class, History of the Civil Rights Movement with Otis Madison. Just like an amazing thinker that like opened my brain and put a lot of pieces together in the way he sort of like challenged us to ask questions and try and like make sense of stuff. Introduced me to the idea of dialectics. And anyway, all this stuff. Dialectics, not Dianetics, to be clear, because you know I know you're a fan of Scientologists, but
I'm the biggest fan of Scientology ever.
So there's another world where, and I guess if I go back, I could probably go back and get my Black Studies major as well. But I ended up doing common art, communication and art. But like there were a lot of great people then and a lot of like pioneering stuff. This was like 94 to 98. And so I guess what, to tie it back to something we were talking about earlier, a lot of the quote unquote woke stuff I feel like was being thought through during that time. Right. And it was a fun time to kind of be around there. So anywho, yeah, and a lot of cool people came out of there. I met a lot of great, wonderful people that have gone on to do some pretty wild things in life. So what is this? Sorry, art question. Do you see this little thing back here? What is that?
It's the saddle.
Oh yeah, doy. Got it.
It's just because whoever did the art is literally translating the toy. And so, because they had the weird sort of mount for it. Shira did not fit well on it, but that did not stop me from appropriating and colonizing it, as I am wont to do. This hive is mine.
I have never even touched a real life hive. How cool was it? What were the I know there was a puppet. What were the other features? Was it like very Grayskull-esque?
It was not. It was actually very it's very the front was very exciting. Because that's where most of the play features were. And there was a little hole where you could put a finger puppet, like of a centipede or some sort of biting thing. So there was that part of it, and then there was like the sort of like the cage door on the front. There was a secret entrance, and there was a platform with a trap door that would drop you all the way to the bottom. There was some netting. There was like a cannon up there, but the inside was just like cardboard. It was like a cardboard backdrop that folded for the second layer, and then there was some plastic railing that popped into place. So the inside was not. It wasn't as unimpressive as Snake Mountain inside, but it was cardboard, and that was like that cardboard got duct taped back together, and like it did not. It was not durable cardboard. It wasn't a Palatoy like chipboard Death Star thing. which I did not have for the record. I'm just saying, like, the reason those have survived is it's those were made with like a chipboard. This was just like really heavy cardboard that Amazon would send you a package in.
Okay.
So
Okay,
I mean,
okay,
it had like it had nice graphics on it. It was, you know, pretty, but it wasn't very durable for play. So, and considering
The
the price
thing
tag of that, like, it should have been better.
the thing that always got me about it, like, and you mentioned Snake Mountain, because I think it's similar. Castle Grayskull had a very clear focal point. It's a
Mhm.
skull, right? And then everything sort of branches out from there, but that's the thing that captures your eye and your imagination. You're like, dope, skull, boom. With the Hive and with Snake Mountain, it was kind of a little bit amorphous, right? It was kind of like, I don't know, there was a lot of things, but if anything, I just remember the sort of the cave where the puppet came out as being
Yep.
maybe a centerpiece, but not a whole lot of like a figurative image or whatever. That's like when I walk away and I try and imagine in my mind's eye this cool toy,
Yeah.
you know, with Grayskull, I know what it is. With this,
Yeah.
it's just kind of a mountainy mass of stuff.
Yeah. It just, and I think ultimately that is sort of, in my opinion, one of the things that sort of held Sectaurs back was it was a big play set for the purpose of having a big play set. It didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Castle Grayskull, like, yeah, there's the image of the skull is really sort of iconic and like it taps into stuff, but inside Castle Grayskull, there's actual space to play, firstly.
Mm-hmm.
But then
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
secondly, there's also all of the imagination play that the pieces, you know, the artwork, for instance, you know, like
Yeah.
the spaceman was just cardboard.
Yeah, that was so cool.
But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, there's this cardboard spaceman in there. You don't know what
Yep.
it
Yep.
is.
Yep.
There's the little computer with them, like there's the big computer screen. You know, there's your elevator, your basic like extra weapons, a rack, the little fighting thing, the trap door. Like they're all sort of these really stereotypical playset
Playset.
things. What
Mm-hmm.
became stereotypical because they were in
Right.
Castle Grayskull. But at the
Right.
same time, like when they were, you know, when you hear Mark Taylor and Roger Sweet and all of the people who helped develop Motu in those early years, before gimmicks sort of, you know, like all the figures had gimmicks, they really, especially Mark Taylor, really was about the imagination of it. All
Mm-hmm.
that art
Mm-hmm.
that they had on the boxes was designed specifically to help fire kids' imaginations.
Yep.
And Snake Mountain, everything is on the outside, but also there are play patterns on Snake Mountain, but there's not imagination in Snake Mountain. Like you can't really, there's not a lot of play value. A kid's gonna, you know, like you can chain somebody up. There's a monster that you can move his jaw. There's a rickety bridge. There's a trap door. There's a snake. There's a microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Those are play patterns. There's nothing about that is actually going to make a kid generate their own actual story. They're just going to fall
Yeah,
into
the
those
story. Yeah,
patterns.
absolutely.
Grayskull,
Yeah,
you're
that totally
constructing
makes
your own
sense.
story. And even
Mm-hmm.
in the Filmation cartoon, we don't really learn that much about
No.
Castle Grayskull. Even the original, you know, the original
Mini
pre-Filmation
comic.
story was like the elders
Mm-hmm.
combined all their magic and turned the ancient and their magic and their wisdom, and they used it to
Mm-hmm.
transform it into a scary castle. And you know, even that was a little bit more. Originally, it's just this mysterious castle. One day there will be the king of Grayskull, and Tila is the guardian of the castle until the king comes, which is gross, but whatever. But again, that's so very open-ended.
Yeah.
You know, like, and you know, like for the time, it's a pretty meaty, important role for Tila. It puts her in a place. You know, it's why Skeletor was always trying to kidnap her and marry her, and then when they revised her and they made,
Yeah,
you know, the
creep.
goddess, there's a whole storyline where, and wave 2, where it's the tale of Tila, where it turns out Skeletor kidnapped the goddess, the sorceress, and tried to make the clone of her, and the clone came out as a baby.
Yeah,
And
so
he was
weird.
going to take the baby and raise the baby, and then when the baby was old enough, he was going to marry the baby so he could be in charge of Grayskull because she was. And one of the coloring books I'm working on, it's like got 3 complete Motu stories, and the last one is Skeletor kidnaps Tila, has Beastman capture a kidnapper, and then they're trying to force her to marry him so he can be the king of Grayskull. And it's just like, I'm glad they left that part behind because it's really weird. There's even a scene of her ripping her wedding dress off. That will be fun to color because it's literally.
I haven't seen that.
Well, you'll get to see it on the next few months.
Oh yeah, it's one of the pages.
Yeah, that's going to be one of my big projects after the first of the year. It'll start coming out. I have a couple of the kids stuff books from Motu and Strawberry Shortcake, and they had black and white pictures the first few years of those. So I've scanned those, cleaned them up. I'll be coloring those. I'm gonna. I've got my Victrola, my little portable Victrola over there. I'm gonna figure out how to. I'm redoing all of my setup in the next few weeks, so that Crystal Castle will be behind me. And
wait,
so
that's because it's like a record. It's like a story record thing.
Yeah, it's like story records, and I've got a thing that I can plug into it that will through Wi-Fi and Blu-ray and shit. I can record the audio from the record player onto the computer. So I'm gonna make videos from that. Yeah, because a lot of this, and some of it is, I mean, some of it's on YouTube on these like nothing channels, but it's just, it's all spread out. So it's like part of my goal is to collect, with the coloring books especially, is sort of to collect a lot of these stories that are sort of lost or unknown, because a lot of them, especially for like Motu, it's the early days where they were figuring stuff out. So there's some really interesting history, some different takes that, like some of it's, Adam obviously has some on Battle Ram, but not all of it because he's just one person. That's Matt. So he's across the room with the cats. And Brick says, "Bless you, Matt." He can't hear though. He's got his earphones on. He's probably watching hockey or something, or Better Call Saul or whatever. But yeah, so
whoa! You glossed over that real quick, but we'll come back to it.
Yeah, so yeah, I want to sort of preserve some of these stories because a lot of them were housed at human.org, but obviously that all went down a few years ago. So I'm gonna do, and some of them I only have. Some of the kid stuff I only have kid stuff. Some of the kid stuff books and tapes, I don't have the tapes or the records. So at some point there are a few people who do vocal stuff or things that I'm probably reach out to and collaborate with so that some of the stuff can get preserved.
Love it.
Especially the stuff that's like records and tapes like that. And I've scanned some of it via copyright and it's not in there. So YouTube won't catch it. It's not in anyone's system, which is good. It means I can stick it up as content, but it's also bad because that means when it's gone, it's gone. So
gone.
I want to get some of the stuff up there and preserve it because a lot of this history, a lot of these stories are important. So for a lot of reasons. So yeah, it's kind of one goal. And I'm hitting a nice spot with all of it so that I can start working more on my other content. And it's fun doing these on Sundays. Like, I've not had one yet where I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this. It's all so far been really fun. I've had a lot of fun people on here. I haven't had anyone yet where I'm like, I don't want to ever see that person again.
Good.
Yeah, so I'll definitely invite you back at some point for more coloring. But Lawrence came on and I was like, well, Lawrence, you're gonna have to come back and you need to, because he just showed up with like some Crayola crowns. So anyway, he came with Crayola, not the color pencils, and But I was like, you should come back and this time bring color pencils, and then what we'll do is I'll have you back every couple of months, and we'll color again, and then people can see like
The
him
difference.
improving and him using stuff
Mhm.
because there are a lot of people who have said to me, "Oh, I can't do that," and it's like you really can. Like they're like, "But what if
Yeah.
I'm not in the lines?" It's like, well, unless you're trying to sell what you're coloring to somebody, who cares? Like it's like I don't. And but these are the things we do as adults to steal from ourselves our creativity and our like,
Yep.
like even me, like what did it take for me to start getting back into coloring and like digging into all these things I enjoy? I found a way to turn it into content so I could justify the time. It's a lot easier to say I'm going to spend 9 to 15 hours every week coloring old coloring books because I'm sticking it on the internet as a video. It's content now,
Mhm. Mhm.
which
Mhm.
I'm not necessarily complaining about because I am having fun doing it. I do worry about a society and a culture where we've created a world where we have to justify doing things like this that we enjoy that are good for us for our mental health by turning it into content. Those sort of it's everything's a commodity, and like that
Sure.
concerns me sometimes. That's very capitalist, obviously.
Mhm.
So that's a concern. That's something. That's why I have a bunch of stuff that will never be content that I color. So that I've got. Yeah, I mean, like I'll stick it on Instagram. But I'm the person who, when I go out to eat, I still, not that that happens a lot in this day and age, but when I do, like, I'm still gonna stick that up on Instagram. That's not necessarily content. That's like, bitch, I'm eating a good meal. You're eating Wendy's. And if I'm at Wendy's, it's like, look, I'm eating Wendy's. So, so yeah, I do worry about that. Because a lot of the people who reach out and they're like, oh, I started coloring again. It's really exciting, like when somebody is like doing something they enjoy and like
Yep. You
they
know,
saw yeah, I don't know.
it makes sense, like why you're worried, but on the other hand, think about like 10 years ago, there was no adult coloring book phenomenon, meaning
That's true.
people simply were not coloring. It simply was not an option.
Yeah.
When I look at like, we often talk about how wild it is now that like there are so many toys and people are buying toys. You know, as people know, I came from like collecting Lego, and I still do, but sort of. But I look at that brand in particular, especially coming out of pandemic, and it's amazing to me. I was just at a store yesterday with the family, and it was like there's a Barnes and Noble, and I'm walking through a Barnes and Noble, and there's like, oh, they have Lego here. That isn't in the kids section with the Lego stuff. There's like the flower sets, right? There's like
Yeah.
and then we're walking down the street, and there's like a paper source, and my oldest loves to go in there because they have the funkiest books he likes to look at. And again, Legos. And it's like Lego, sorry, I did it. But Lego, and there is these sets that are like clearly not meant for kids. And that is it's exactly what you said. It's commodified, right? But it's
Yeah.
commodified creativity. But like that simply didn't even exist as an acceptable quote
Right.
unquote market 10 years ago. And now it does.
Right.
So I think
That's
there's an
true.
interesting thing to be said about I feel like pound for pound, there's more people doing creative things. And when you say like, oh, people turning it into content or whatever,
Right.
again, there are so many like per capita artists or creators now than I think there were 10 years ago, because there's so many people trying to have a YouTube channel or trying to have, curate an Instagram, and they all have a thing that they are all doing. And that to me is pretty interesting and exciting. And I actually do think that that has led to some larger cultural questions around like people wanting to be their own boss, or people wanting
Right.
to have a little bit more freedom. We hear things like self-care that, some people balk at and say, oh, you're all spoiled. But I also think there's a certain level of awakening that's happened and
Yeah.
you can't put it back in, right? You can't put the notion that people are creative and doing their own thing. You can't put that back in the bottle and say, nah, dude, you need to work for me for $12 an hour or whatever it is, right? And just like go home and be miserable. Like, so I don't know. In the grand scheme of things, I'm kind of excited about the sort of state of creative. The fact that like I'm interested, but this is not at all something that I would have ever considered doing online, to be honest with you. It just wasn't in my wheelhouse. And the notion that you introduced me to this idea that, oh wait, there's a lot of people that do this, and it's huge, much bigger than ToyTube. So
it kind of is. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Like,
and you can't have that unless adults are actually coloring, and that's amazing to me. So I think I've hit a stopping point on this thing. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm
about there too, because I'm just sort of fussing with it.
Yay! I got brought back to Sectaurs. Dargon finds his rescuers.
That was really good. All right, let's really quick. I'm going to jump into the chat. Muriel says, if you'd done Black Studies degree, we would have probably had some classes together. Probably.
Oh, were we in the same time period then? I was with
probably.
Yeah, like Otis Madison. Who else? Who taught the negritude class on Haiti? I forget their names now, but maybe that. And I was really friendly with and was doing work with and organizing with folks in both the Black Studies department and the Asian American Studies department, with Diane Fagino. And
Rolando is here. Hello, Rolando. Yep, that's correct.
What's today?
Rolando.
November 12th.
Today is the 12th of November.
November 12th, 2023. There. It's dated.
Excellent. So I'm going to quickly make you the solo layout so that everyone can see your gloriousness. That is really good.
Dude, thank you. I appreciate that.
It could be a comic book cover. All it needs is you to drop the logo on it, and it's issue 17. I like the wings. What you did with the wings too. That's really cool.
Yeah, I feel like might have overdone it a little, but thank you.
No, I don't think so at all.
I love yours too. Yours is very rich. I noticed that there's a foreground and a background that I feel like there's a little flat, but look at that. No, yours is great.
Funny. It's like that's how I'm feeling about mine. Like there's not enough shading in it.
That's part of the creative process, is that we creatively hack ourselves to tiny little bits.
Yeah. So
boo.
And then
beautiful
solo. And it's 1:13, so wow. Excellent. I'm going to post this on Instagram because I'm realizing this camera is not focusing right, because why would it? So if you will post yours on Instagram and tag me.
Sure.
That way.
How do you do that? Well, I'll look at what you do. Do you just do this? Is that what you're posting?
Yeah, I just take a picture of it, and with my phone, and I just take a picture of it. And I mean, later I scan it, make it all fancy, but today I just take a picture with the phone.
Okay.
So yeah, and then just take a picture with your phone, stick it on Instagram, tag me, stick it in my story so people can see. Britt can do it. Well, I mean, they'll probably see yours and be like, "I will never do mine that good." No, that's it's reasonable. It's really good. People will be intimidated, as they should be. People should be intimidated now and then. That's part of how we strive to be better. Somebody does something, and we're like, "I will never be that good," and then somebody says, "But you could be," and then they are. So.
Well, like I said earlier, you just described me. That was, for the longest time, it was just like, oh, it's not good enough. And you know what? Like at a certain point, you stop giving a flying.
You just kind of have to do it. So
for a couple of decades, you're just kind of like, yeah, whatever.
If I was still waiting for like perfection, I would not be coloring on the internet today.
Correct.
Like a bougie bitch with my fancy ass pencils. Look at my pencils. They're so bougie. Yeah, so okay. Well, let's start or wrap Thank you, Nolan. Nolan says you both did a great job. They look fantastic. Thank you very much. Muriel, so pretty, you too. Thank you, Muriel. You're beautiful as well. Derek, God, those look freaking rad. It's true, Derek. And Derek at some point will probably be on here and we'll color something. So
Very nice.
just so you know, Derek, so he can come and promote his podcast. Yesterday's podcast. All of his Yesterday's. And Ed as well. And Ed, like at some point you should come on and color. You can bring Luke or you could leave Luke, whatever, your call. And Black Phoenix. Thank you, Alex. It always feels weird when I call you by your name. Like I'm calling Superman Clark Kent in front of Lex Luthor, but whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so really quick, Brick, where can the people find you?
Well, in a little bit, I will be scrambling to get things ready for this afternoon because every Sunday we do the Brick Something News, Needless Ephemera we saw. And today we'll be talking about all things Four Horsemen because it is Legions Con weekend. So it'll be Thanos, myself, and Oz, and I believe Ed's gonna jump on for a little bit. Ed was a trooper and hung out with me for 5 hours and just was laughing at me being a nerdy geek as Four Horsemen revealed all the new stuff. Anyway, so yes, Sunday, that's today, 4:30 p.m. Pacific time at bricksomething.com, which will take you right to the channel. And then beyond that, I don't know. Life is a blur. We'll find out.
You never know where Brick will turn up. If you say AWOC 3 times into a mirror, Brick will show up on your computer and talk about Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. And Adam will be not far behind.
Yes.
Right. So let's see. I've got for those who care about what I'm doing, I've got a premiere tomorrow. It's a shorts collection part compilation 6 of daily shorts. I'll be doing a premiere chat, so please feel free to join me. As always, there will be a daily short through at least the first full week of January, and then next week on Monday I have Coloring Evelyn Part 2, where I color in 16 minutes worth of coloring of Evelyn and talk more about Evelyn and why she matters.
16? 1-6?
It's like 16 minutes, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's a longer video. It's filmed differently than the shorts are. So yeah. All right. Well, and oh, there we go. Derek, yeah, I'm definitely gonna work on that. That was not the one I wanted. Derek is saying that his son has been watching with them and his analysis as well. That's just perfect. So you go and get that kid a coloring book and some Crayola.
Yeah.
And that's too late. It's too late, Alex. You're revealed. Thanos, good job. Very fun. Thank you as well. And thank you, Kenzo. I think that's everyone in chat. If I missed you and you're watching, I apologize. It's not on purpose. If it was on purpose, you would know. Because I would say, ugh, when I saw your name. And that did not happen. So anyway, we're going to go now so Brett can get on to his next exciting thing.
Thank you so much. This was super fun. Like, honestly, I often need to be forced to do things like this. So it was awesome. Just slow down, color, hang out. Perfect.
And like I said, I'll bug you again and we'll do this again on a Sunday morning. Just hang out and color some shit. Like adults. Anyway, all right. And with that, I'm Allison Troy. This has been Retro Toy Princess and Allison out. Or Lemon out. Yeah.